Okay, everybody, so nice to see you on this evening. My name is Joyce Raimondo. I am the Education Coordinator at the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center. This is my dear friend and neighbor, Geraldine Lewandowski, who is an artist and curator, and she'll be speaking today along with many other creative people. So this program is hosted by the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center. It is the evening, so that's why I'm doing this from my studio, which is right down the street from the Pollock House. So today is Giving Tuesday. And every year I like to celebrate specifically the way artists and creative people give back to the community. And I thought a very timely theme would, especially around Thanksgiving, is the theme of food insecurity and also housing insecurity, which is a huge problem in the Hamptons. And as I started to investigate, and I saw a movie called A Place at the Table, which is such an informative documentary about why we're having so many problems with food insecurity in America. And I just felt like maybe this could be a little bit of my own give back. So what I would like to do to start is I'd like to show a little very short video that was done by The Guardian, because for people who are not from the Hamptons, I think it will give you an idea of some of the huge disparity in this community and some of the problems people are facing. Okay, so I'm going to do a little screen share on that, and then we'll hear from our guest speakers.
That one, bit Lego-y. Welcome to Meadow Lane in Southampton. This is where the richest of the 1% come in the summertime. Houses along here change hands for more than $100 million. Vera Wang had a mansion here. Clintons come out here every summer. Calvin Klein's house that you can just about make out there, the modernist black one. So all the houses out here are pretty much shut up for winter. Even the trees get their own blankets out here. Less than a 5-minute drive from the $100 million homes on Meadow Lane is this food bank that feeds 350 families 3 times a week. There are several food pantries in the area. This one, East Hampton, invites us inside.
People tend to start coming after Labor Day, so then our numbers go up to about 400 families per week.
Wow. And do sometimes people have to choose between rent, food, and heating?
Oh, absolutely. There's seniors that have to sometimes pick whether they're going to pay for their medications or buy food, and that shouldn't be the case.
Especially not maybe in somewhere so wealthy.
I get
Eggs,
spaghetti with meatballs. I get a pasta.
There's no work in the winter.
No trabajo en el invierno, solo en el verano.
And what work do you do in the summer?
Limpiando casas. La gente que sí viene, sí es gente rica y famosa, pero nosotros los que vivimos acá no.
Do you have enough money?
¿Yo?
Yeah.
No. Aquí hay mucha gente que vive en un cuarto porque no pueden pagar la renta. Con 2 y 3 niños, 4 y 5 niños, en un basement.
In the winter, is there less work?
Diciembre, enero y febrero son los meses más difíciles. Cae la nieve y el trabajo baja demasiado y no viene uno acá a esperar pues a una hora de trabajo o algún día de trabajo, y nuestra familia también espera también del dinero que nosotros hagamos acá para enviarles, ¿verdad? Entonces, sí es difícil lo que es estos son como 4 meses.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Alcoholism and drug abuse and spousal abuse. When times are tough and people are under a lot of stress and they're unemployed in the winter and they have a lot of time on their hands, those are the kinds of problems you run into.
How long have you been homeless?
About 9 months.
What happened to make you homeless?
My mom was fed up with my antics as being a steroid user, and I turned into a heroin addict. Parents, teachers, people in the community really haven't fessed up to the drug problem that's going on, and also the amount of jobs that are not there in the wintertime.
And so there's work for you and your friends in the summertime, but come the winter when they leave,
It's dead, completely dead.
The town of East Hampton in the county of Suffolk has the second highest poverty rate of any town.
So at the same time as having that high poverty rate, you also have a huge concentration of billionaires.
Yes.
People, you know, they judge us. Oh, he's homeless. He's no good. He made mistakes. But everybody, you know, has a story.
As we go along, I would love for anyone who's speaking to weigh in on whether or not you think that completes the picture. I'm sure that there's a lot that's left out of that video. Personally, one thing that comes to mind from my own observations is that a lot of people who have housing and food insecurity in the Hamptons are now middle-class people even, or professional people who just simply can't afford a place to live, or are working full-time, and just because all of their money is going to the high rents, they don't really, you know, they don't have enough left over to eat properly. And I've encountered this quite a bit firsthand. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Geraldine Lewandowski, who is an amazing artist and a giver. She's a giver to the community, and she curates shows and gives back to many of the organizations. One of them we're going to feature tonight is Maureen's Haven. So I am going to turn this over to Geraldine.
Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for being here. Anyway, my name is Geraldine Lewandowski, and I've been putting together, curating art shows for more than 12 or 13 years now. After about the first 5 years, I thought, well, we can make this bigger and make it more happy for the community. So that's when I started to introduce charity into my art events. So the first nonprofit I worked with was Ellen Hermanson, who does Ellen's Run out here and is, you know, a champion for women with breast cancer. And so we would put together shows, and I would ask artists to donate artwork that would be well priced, that people could buy, and 50% of the sale would go directly to the charity. I feel strongly that the artists need to also receive something for their work. Many charities are always asking for donations, and 100% donation. Well, artists also need to be, compensated for their time and energy and their creative abilities. So that was very successful. And a few years ago, I decided to expand it and not just limit it to the one nonprofit. And I included Wings Over Haiti, which is a charity that builds schools in Haiti to help bring the children of Haiti out of poverty, and also East End Hospice, and more recently Maureen's Haven, and the likes. And I'm constantly working with new charities that I could help. I guess it was in August, I did a large event at a new idea I came up with, was to turn Hans van de Bovenkamp, who's a well-known local sculptor, although he is internationally well-known, his studio into a gallery. And so that's when Maureen's Haven came into the picture. I decided that instead of sharing with other charities, I would focus the benefit to them. And it was an enormous success. And it also opened my eyes as to the amount of food insecurity out here, and that 40%, I believe, of their clients are actually women. That I don't think people are aware of that. And I'm sure Dan will go into greater detail about that. So we have some images of the different events I've done, and we're going to put them up here. So, well, here we are, Joyce and myself at the art group. This was the first brainchild to bring in charities. And where do I go? Just down here. So this is how I would arrange the walls with various pieces, and they'd be priced, and the benefit would go to the the featured nonprofit. There's Julie Ratner from Ellen Hermanson. This was our last event, which benefit, as you can see in the headline, Maureen's Haven. We had about 250 people show up, and we did a lot of good, and hopefully helped Maureen's Haven bring, funds that they were obviously well needed. So this is my most recent event, which actually happened on Saturday. We had about, 150 people or so there. 4 artists, Anahita Canio, Beth O'Donnell, Christina Matai, and of course, Hans van de Bovenkamp. So this then, the other things artists do is produce artwork to be sold. And I produced this piece for the Springs Historical Society. So Joyce said one of the reasons is she thought that people look at artists that they don't, that they don't really do these things, but we all do. This was a box.
Geraldine is an artist, a busy professional. So is there anything in particular that inspired you to want to directly do these events to help people with these issues?
Well, I'm a very social person, and I really feel that we are all one, and that we're one big community. And when I see that people need help or assistance in any way, I like to jump in and try to do something. So this was just a great way to do it, because I can use my creative talents and my social connections and my graphic design skills. So it makes it simple for me to put these things together and and have them be successful. So
Geraldine says simple. I know this is a huge amount of effort and work on Geraldine's part. So let's give Geraldine Lewandowski a community round of applause for your service. And Geraldine's one of the most generous people I've ever met. So in general. So Dan O'Shea, Executive Director of Maureen's Haven, will you tell us a little bit about what the mission of the organization is and how it works? Let me just find you here, because it's really unique, I think, the way Maureen's Haven works. So tell us a little bit about the organization.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan O'Shea. I'm the Executive Director for Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. And let me first say thank you to Joyce for putting this wonderful event together. It's always important for us to really have the opportunity to not only spread the mission of Maureen's Haven, but the issues that we're faced with now. And certainly, I would be remiss without mentioning Geraldine and that event that we had, actually 2 events, and so amazing. The event back in August at Hans Estate was just a wonderful, wonderful event. We raised a lot of money. I think it was close to $7,000–8,000. So again, thank you to Geraldine, and thank you to Joyce for setting this up. The unique thing about Maureen's Haven is that we are actually a private, independent nonprofit. And sort of why that's important is that sort of allows us to operate with minimum restrictions. And because of that, we're able to do a lot of services that a lot of larger agencies can't do. And something very simple like transportation to and from an appointment is so important. So it's really key for us to be a private agency where we have the agility to be adaptable and to really be able to try and cater our services the best we can to the individual. It really is a wonderful, wonderful, unique program, because certainly the services that we do, and I can elaborate that on that in a few moments, is just really day by day life changing. But from a community standpoint, we see it across all measures.
Okay, let's just do some housekeeping. I'm going to mute everybody and then Dan come back on, okay? Good. So can you go ahead?
Yep. so for us, it's wonderful because we see so many community members throughout the entire East End really giving of themselves. And it really does, it does wonders for the soul. I see it almost every day, certainly during the holidays, where people are not just giving because they feel obligated, they're giving because they know that they're going to be able to make a difference. And something like Maureen's Haven, we are very, very hands-on. We're as street level as you can imagine. We really interact with our guests, 8, 10, and in the wintertime, sometimes 24 hours a day. So we really have this connection with our guests, and we're able to really see where your contribution has a direct impact. And it's just a wonderful program. We see it with the volunteers that support our winter shelter program, that so many individuals, whether it's through different houses of worship or congregations or through civic associations like the Rotary Club or the Knights of Columbus, we have youth groups participating in our program. So it really is a wonderful, wonderful, as I like to describe it, a wonderful gift. So I think, for me, what's really most important is, educating folks about what we do, educating the community about the challenges that are out there, and certainly being part of such a wonderful organization where any contribution, whether it is volunteering or financial support, really does make a direct and immediate impact on the people that we serve.
Dan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I know you have the program where you house people temporarily in various churches, so that they could get a hot meal and a warm bed to sleep in. And I understand that because we don't have any permanent homeless shelter out here, this is a solution. It's a creative solution.
Right.
And can you talk a little bit about, like, who is it who comes to these programs? What are the stereotypes? Are we imagining, like, everybody has an idea of who's homeless? Could you talk a little, who's coming to your programs like that?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we're private and independent. And why that's important is that we don't simply charge Suffolk County per bed, per night, per person. Okay, so that's through like the county systems. And you are correct. There's absolutely no emergency shelters on the East End at all. And there's 2 or 3 in the township of Riverhead, but beyond that, there's no emergency services in Southampton, East Hampton, or South Hope. By us not being a direct DSS referral site, we're able to work with one, as you saw in the video, a lot of folks who may be undocumented or ineligible for services. So if it's above 32 degrees and you're a Hispanic gentleman sleeping on a park bench and you really need help, Suffolk County has no obligation to help you. Maureen's Haven will. We actually work with a lot of individuals who are not eligible for DSS services, whether it be they make too much money or whether there's a history with Suffolk County that Suffolk County can actually refuse them services. And then probably a third of my population are people that struggle with, say, mental illness or substance abuse, or individuals that are just simply jaded or just have been through the system their entire life. So the population that Maureen's Haven serves are really not only the people that have fallen through the cracks, but for many of them that have fallen even further. So it's really important for us that, when we have an individual that comes to Maureen's Haven and they say, Suffolk County won't help us, or there's no other shelters out there, that we literally are the only resource for these individuals, especially during the cold winter months.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add, I know some of the volunteers who have helped service these programs directly, and that you really treat people like royalty. You're not just giving them a bed with a blanket. You're giving them a full meal with a dessert and cheese and crackers and some entertainment also, sometimes I think maybe little games. And it's just such a dignity of you for a human being, and anyone can find themselves in this position. Anyone.
That's 100% true. And it is in our mission that we do provide compassionate care. And for me personally, that is something that I feel very strongly about, because these are people that have struggles, and these people are facing many challenges, but they're our neighbors, they're in our community.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people, like the video that we saw earlier sort of alluded to. Imagine where we are today. I know that video is a couple of years old. I could tell by my day center there, but imagine where we are today, that there is absolutely no semblance of affordable housing anywhere on the East End, anywhere. 2, 3, 4 years ago, we could have found a basement apartment for $800, or you know, a little cottage in the back for $900 a month. That doesn't exist anymore. So imagine that person who has lived in the town of Southold for 50 years, and suddenly, for whatever life circumstances has brought them, they are now facing a situation where they have nowhere to live, and they're on a fixed income of $1,800 or $2,200 a month. Where is that person going to find a place to live for $2,200 a month? Anywhere on the East End. So it's not just the people that you would imagine would be homeless. It's also the people that are in our community. And I see this across the entire East End. I have people living at the end of the road by the beach. I have people that are living behind shopping malls, shopping centers that are, you know, unfortunately, there are people that are living in the woods. And so many of these people have been part of these communities for 5, 10, you know, sometimes 50 years. So there's multiple challenges out here on the East End. And this is certainly, it's something that's, you know, a lot across Long Island as well. But, you know, you see it, I see it every day here on the East End.
Yeah, Dan, can you tell us, if somebody wants to get involved, what is the best direct website or way to contact Maureen's Haven?
Sure. Well, all the information about the agency is at maureen'shaven.org.
Mhm.
Which is, you know, to tell you about the services we provide, certainly how you can help out, whether it be donations or volunteering. But I also tell individuals and certainly concerned people, if you do have anybody in need, you could always call my office directly. That number, just so it's on the video, is 631-727-6831. So if you ever do find an individual that really is in need, call my office, and, you know, any of my staff will be able to kind of direct you to the next steps.
Dan O'Shea, thank you so much. And also thank you to Sarah Blue, who I've met, who works for Maureen's Haven. I know it's the evening. You probably wanted to relax tonight, but
That's
we had
okay.
other plans for you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you for
also,
having
by
me.
the way, everybody, it's kind of fun. Like, you can cook for Maureen's Haven when they have these weekend programs, and donate food that way, or bring socks or different things. They'll give you a list and tell you, like, we need rice, we need vegetables, whatever it is. So it's kind of a fun way of giving, other than just giving a monetary donation. So, okay, good. So thank you very much. And next up is another, like, I don't know, I just love my friends and this community. So John Kowalenko is the owner of a very successful catering business, Art of Eating, with his wife Cheryl. And John founded Ladles of Love, and John will tell us more about his mission and his story. So let's welcome John Kowalenko. So John, tell us about your program and what it does. Unmute, John. Make sure you're unmuted. There's a little button on the bottom. There's a bunch of icons, and you can just push the microphone. Let me see if I could do it for you.
Ask to unmute.
Am I
Oh,
unmuted?
yeah, you sure are.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thanks. And that was really something else, Dan. Thank you very much. We've had an opportunity to donate to Maureen's Haven over the years a couple of times. And just so you know, I was a homeless person. I lived in a van at the end of South House Point Road. Back in like the winter of 71, 72, I'd closed my business in Hampton Bays. I had a surf shop, and you know, I had no money, no place to go, and I was taken in by actually a friend's family, and actually got me a job. So it can happen to anybody, you know, and we see it constantly. So I was at the East Hampton Food Pantry today. I'm a board member there, and I asked about Thanksgiving. You know, 250 plus people came through, which means over 1,000 people get fed by that. And years ago, we had the opportunity to meet Linda Brightstone, who started Island Harvest. And we had been doing a lot of multi-chef events, multi-restaurant and catering events. And there was always this food left over. And I'm like, what can we do with this food? And the Board of Health said, oh, you have to throw it out unless it's held safely. So we started kind of talking to different people and had the opportunity to meet Linda, who had just started Island Harvest, and her husband was an attorney and found the Good Samaritan law and said, hey, don't worry about it. She went to 7-Eleven and kept getting sandwiches and distributing them. So we started doing a little bit of work with Island Harvest and finding recipient agencies and finding donors. And Joyce, I told you this story, still chokes me up. There was a place in Hampton Bays called Love Cottages. That's just like 16 cottages over there. And the Maidstone Club had closed for the winter. And Ed Nyman at the time said, come on over and take some of this food from us. So we brought it to the Love. I mean, it was like crown roasts, and it's amazing what they had given to us. And we brought it over to these cottages and opened it back. We're unloading the food into their main gathering hall, and some little kid with his mother comes over and he looks inside and he, it was around Christmas time. So, he goes, Mommy, look, food. And I'll never forget that. That was like one of those things that, this kid was so excited to see food. And, that really touched me. And as a kid, we had a situation at my house. My dad died when we were very young, and my mom had 4 kids and then had a serious car accident. And the community used to collect coin and drop off bags of food to the house. So this food thing is really dear to my heart. And in the circuitous, we're getting to Ladles of Love. So when I had been donating to the food pantries and saw this need. So the winter of 2009, I think that's posted up there. Winter of January 2009. We were at the where Cocha Comida is now, at the diner there, and we decided to have a fundraiser for the food pantries. We got 25 restaurants to donate. It was Ladles of Love, so it was soups, chilies, and chowders, easy things. And people came in, donated money and food, and we distributed to, I think, 9 food pantries from Montauk to even Southold, West Hampton Beach. We had money that we made, and I think we collected almost 2,500 pounds of food that year. Plus the entertainment came in, and somebody mentioned, artists getting paid. And I know fundraisers, caterers, and, a lot of people reach out to artists and other people for money to help them make money. And the last ladles we did was at LTV, because it was so we've done 4. One from the diner in the winter, 300 people showed up, and it was very successful. Then we went over to 555 in Amagansett in the field out there, and we had thousands of people show up, but we just got going very late. There was a little bit of controversy about having that show there, but it brought so much awareness to the food pantries that the after effect of that was that people started reaching out and donating to the food pantries directly, which was what we were hoping to do. Then we had one at the Talk House. Peter Honekamp and Nick Kraus there helped us out with that and donated so much. So that was another successful one for a couple of the food pantries. And then the last one we did was for the artists, all the musicians. We got them to get a payment for the money and the sponsors that had donated to us, so different people at the airport, Sound Aircraft, and the Beach House, and it's just some anonymous donors that just sponsored the event, and we raised about 15,000 for that one, plus the artist got paid. So that's where Ladles of Love ended up. And we've been documenting and filming this, as I mentioned to you, Joyce, that we've been with Joe O'Hare, been working on this slow documentary called Hungry and Homeless in the Hamptons. And we've actually interviewed clients and donors and food pantry people and workers and volunteers at all of these different events. So there's a big heart in this community. It's amazing how many people from behind the scenes get involved with events and donate to events such as ours and, Ellen's Run and, the Wet Hospice and all these different people that are out here, because we're always helping people. We can, so why shouldn't we? I mean, it's, people helped us, and so that's what we're trying to do, is to pass it on, and give them the hand up, as they say, and make sure that it's a little bit easier for people who are less fortunate and don't have the means and are struggling, just to not have to worry about food. Come on. So that's what Letters of Love is all about. We haven't scheduled another one, but I see one in our future plans sometime this coming year, and we'll keep everybody posted. And I just want to thank everybody who does anything for the community and reaches out like that, and offers people an opportunity that they can't dig into their pocket for money. So, what are they going to do? So, here's these programs out here that we're trying to help people with. So that's my story. I'm glad I'm able to share it a little bit. Thanks, Joyce. Thanks,
John,
everybody
again,
else.
Thank you so much for coming on. And when we spoke on the phone and you told me your story, and I told you, I said, that's what Joseph Campbell calls the hero's journey, right? Because you took your hardship, you work through it, and then you ultimately give back because of that hardship. You give back to the community. So
It's important.
round of applause for all these amazing people. And I know
Yeah.
you wanted to relax tonight, but we had a different plan.
Glad I'm here. Glad I'm here.
Okay, thank you so much, John. What is is there a website for Ladles of Love?
There's not, but the East Hampton Food Pantry.org usually is abreast of that. And I know we have a big, the Polar Bear Plunge coming up New Year's Day, Main Beach, East Hampton. So, that's the next event we're doing. So.
Yeah, and these events, by the way, everybody, they're really fun. And it's a good cause at the same time. They're super, super fun. So thank you.
They are. Thanks.
Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
So next up is Kate Mewett. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Kate. Kate is an amazing creative artist. She's the founder and artistic director of the Neo-Political Cowgirls Dance Theater Collective. And Kate, I went to donate to this little, I'll show you a picture actually, because this is a very good example of how it can be a simple effort could really have an impact. So this little, got jammed, but this little cabinet is on Springs Fireplace Road in the parking lot next to the senior center. And you can drop off food and then anyone can anonymously pick it up. And it's as simple as that. There's just a little latch. And I noticed there was a poster on there that said Neo-Political Cowgirls. I said, wow, that's interesting. I wonder how Kate got involved. So I love dropping off food here because it's easy for one thing. And another thing is, I don't know, I just want to see, like, did somebody pick it up and like, what else can I put in there? And I just think it's a great idea. So, and I know that a lot of the children go there from the apartments next door too. So Kate, will you tell us about the project, how you got involved and what inspired you?
Yes. Thank you for having me. And it's so exciting to hear and meet all these people as well, because we've been involved in various lighthearted ways in support of all these phenomenal groups doing this incredible work. So the Neo-Political Cowgirls, we are headed into our 17th year soon. We are actually a 501c3 not-for-profit dance theater collective. But we firmly believe that compassion and creativity go hand in hand. And you can actually hear that when these people are speaking, because there's so much art and imagination and problem solving, which is a creative act, right, that takes place. And so we are a nomad group, meaning we do not have our own home or institution here. Who can afford the real estate, right, for, for a theater company? So much of our work, not all, but much of our work is done in odd and unpredictable places. Might be outdoors on 40 acres of land. It might be in a mansion or a gallery in Berlin. It might be in a 300-year-old church in Boston. And we do much of our work, we start much of our work here and then might go off Broadway or travel overseas. And so I think that that's probably where a lot of this placemaking, which is essentially what this is, social justice placemaking, meaning making something eventful happen in a place where before it wasn't happening. And so for us, we're always seeing spaces, alternative spaces, as creative canvases, really, for interesting things to happen. And so how this specifically, so the Little Free Food Pantry, that's not I did not create that idea. It is a national movement. It is a grassroots national movement. Nobody owns it. Nobody oversees it. It's all meant to be socially community-based and taken care of. So the way it came to us was we have an annual arts program, intergenerational program for girls and women. We say from 6 to 106. It's a program called January Girls. It is free to participants, and it's a month of Sundays where we hire in women artists to lead us in a project, an art project that is based on a theme of conversation, so that we have elderly women speaking with immigrant girls and 6-year-olds talking to teenagers. And we're all working together through this art project to come together in allyship. And during COVID in January, we were doing these workshops outdoors. Cold weather doesn't scare us. And we did one, the Unitarian Universalist Church. It's kind of like on the bridge, Hampton, Sag Harbor Turnpike there, split between those two places. They were kind enough to let us use their outdoor space for one of our workshops. And I saw this little pantry there, and Michael Daly, who attends that church, he got so excited showing me this pantry and how it works. And I was so thrilled by this, and it took my breath away. I couldn't believe that there was just like this incredible act of generosity there, right there on the turnpike. And anybody 24/7 could come and receive or leave something at this pantry. And so I wanted to take the January Girls more into the calendar year and more into our community. And so I thought this was a great idea for something we could do. And I didn't know the first thing about, I'm not a carpenter. I don't make things with my hands so much. And so I called up my friend, Bill Costello, who owns and operates Men at Work Construction. And without missing a beat, he said, absolutely, we will build these, we will install them, anything, I'll donate everything. And so we are 5 Little Free Food Pantries later now, scattered across the East End, that he and his team, and it's not an easy task at all. And he made beautiful pantries, very durable, really pretty. And they installed them. I mean, it takes them, a couple hours to put these in, cement bases or right into the ground, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of materials and labor that he's just happily donated. So we have the Neopolitical Cowgirls and the Men at Work Construction partnering together. And so this is an act of, as you'll see on the website, if you check out it's called the littlefreepantry.org. It is take what you need, leave what you can. And it really, it does so many profound things. And we've had the joy of watching this happen for a couple of years now, from our first one on Springs Fireplace Road, where we were like, I don't know, are people going to use this? Are they not going to use it? And as word got out, I mean, the data now, which is just the data from our eyes of what we see, because we visit it every day, is people are using it more and more and more and more. The desperation is sinking in. Things are getting really bad, just to put it out there. We are mere little bits of connective tissue to the amazing big food pantries that we have going on here. We just kind of connect those little spaces in between with non-perishables and are trying just to try to hopefully ease their burden by the tiniest bit if we can. But the remarkable gift that we're seeing with this is how, in our work to destigmatize hunger and food insecurity and need, this really, we like to work for this fluidity of generosity and fluidity of sharing in our community, so that it's not so much about like, oh, those certain number of people who run organizations that really take care of people, they do that work. But it'd be really great to keep our community getting energized around the idea of service and serving one another and taking away the stigma of being in need. Because as someone else said, we are one accident, one illness, one death, one house fire away from need, a desperate need. So none of us get away scot-free from that. And I think we really need to take away that thought that, somebody, are they worthy of this free food that's sitting there? I mean, some people would go like, people are going to come and just steal all of it. And our thought was like, they will do that if they need it. And that's okay, because tomorrow we will refill it. And it's not easy, and it takes a long, consistent arm of commitment. It's not a performative act in any way. It is a commitment that takes a lot of people to make it happen and be a success. And the great thing is we get to meet new people we've never met before in this. We see people who are benefiting from this. And you all could, any of us could use it. You don't have to, just be hungry. You might need a can of beans and you can go get a can of beans from the pantry. It doesn't matter who one is, right? It's how do we give the flow of generosity, which shouldn't be based on anything other than you're a human, I'm a human, here, have this, I have it, you need it, here you go. So the pantry is there for everyone. And we have, if I can just go through the locations, there's one at the Senior Center in East Hampton. There's one at Most Holy Trinity Catholic Church, behind the church, that the parishioners take care of that one. There's one at Montauk School, and the Girl Scouts tend to that one. There's one at Bay Street Theater, and Lorraine Brandon and Bay Street Theater tend to that one. Then we have Heidi Humes' her shop. It's called Sunshine Shop in Amagansett, and she's a powerhouse of getting energy around it. And our board members, Susan Stout and Gabrielle Roque, are tireless in helping me keep the food flowing and keeping the volunteers in action to make it happen. And as hard as this is for us, we're a dance theater company. we make arts education and we make productions, but this is something we're really passionate about, because it's really a ridiculous thing to think that anybody in this country should be hungry. Nobody needs to be hungry, so we can ease that burden. But knowing how much it takes of our time and money that it takes to make this happen is a fraction of what our giant, our big food pantries need, and what they have to do, like the jobs that they have to do are profound. So I think it's really fantastic when our communities can just step up and go do. It's a great salve for depression and sadness and loneliness, is to go out and do. The return on the giving is so wonderful and joyful, and it brings a lot of meaning into my life anyways. So that's the Neopolitical Cowgirls and our little free food pantries.
Great, thank
Thanks,
you
Kate.
so much. Can you tell us also the website of your wonderful Neopolitical Cowgirls Theater Company? Dance Theater?
Sure. It's N like Nancy or like Neo, npcowgirls.org.
And you know what, Kate, you're so creative in the artistic work that you do. Like it's beyond, you bring that to the community. I've seen your theater productions. And I do think these little pantries, I just think they're absolutely brilliant. The hard work goes into it, but the simplicity of the exchange is just really beautiful.
Well,
So-
thank you. And thank you for all your generosity in tending to them. That's the other thing is there's all these little angels that are going and doing this, filling in the gaps that sometimes we're not even aware of. And it's sort of like the Easter Bunny. It's very exciting.
I know, you get to be a little like the Easter Bunny. It's fun.
Right.
It's fun. It's such a small effort, but with a big payoff for someone. So everybody, round of applause for Kate Mewis, is that correct? And also thank you for coming on your evening off when you could be watching Netflix.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Oops, no, okay, wrong button. Okay, great. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I am so happy to welcome an amazing sculptor, Lori Horowitz, who lives on Long Island. And Lori does portraits in her sculptures of, let's say, people in our society that we usually don't want to think about, we don't want to see, people who are underrepresented. So Lori is going to do a little screen share and tell us about her portraits of people who are homeless. So go ahead, Lori.
Anyhow, thank you, Joyce, for the invitation. I'm honored to be here with all these wonderful people speaking about all the great work that they do. I will share my screen right now. And I am essentially a sculptor, painter, and mixed media artist, and I use photography as my sketchbook, and I capture images of all sorts of different people in different situations. I'm going to go to the first one. Okay. This was a woman who I found on Skid Row in front of a mission. It's called For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn, which is titled after a Hemingway short story. And she did in fact have baby shoes around her neck. Her hair had gold coins woven through it, and she was hungrily eating some soup. She's pregnant. And in this piece, it was really important for me to shed some light on somebody. I don't know her situation. I don't know why she's there. I can only imagine the hard times she must have been going through. I work in a variety of different materials. This is paper mache, and it's really important to get across the body language as well as the expression and feeling in these works. The next piece is called Lovebirds. And I had been taking pictures of this man for about 2 years and created this piece called Lovebirds. And subsequently, I went back to the park in Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village, and I saw another pigeon woman. Her name was Tina Pina, and she also was, surrounded by birds. And I asked her if I could do her portrait, and I showed her a picture of this one, and she broke out and said, "Oh my God, it's Larry." And I asked her if she would please give this image to Larry and if I could meet him, and she was thrilled. So I went back to the park and introduced myself to Larry, who was not a homeless person, and he was a member of a bird society. And These works are really about unveiling facades, seeing past the surface, not assuming you understand a person by their looks and not shying away from them. I became friendly with him. I had conversations with him. He was very articulate. He just loved the birds. So as I progressed through my work, it became more important for me to see past that surface, to unveil the facade. And in this piece, it's called Squatter. And I found this man in Venice Beach, California, and he was on the boardwalk. I had initially thought that maybe he was begging for money, but when I looked closer at him, I saw he was wearing a J. Crew jacket and new sandals. And it's the idea of the scene and the people who are attention seekers who want to be seen. And there are so many different people in our society. And in my work, what I try and do is raise consciousness, to bring awareness to people in situations. And also, it's usually people who are looking to find their place in society, and also revealing humanity's true nature by the way we view people and the assumptions we make. This next piece is called Dread, and it's another mixed media piece. This was a guy I met in Coney Island. And as I progressed through the work, I initially started out in the paper mache, but I wanted to get a more lifelike, fleshy feeling to the work. And I started working in encaustic wax and sculpting the wax, along with fiber and other materials. But again, another person who was down on their luck, who just wanted to talk, tell me a little bit about his story. And I either listen, and sometimes people tell me all about their lives, and other people just are hiding in the shadows. As this one, which is called Every Head Counts. And this is the next progression, which is the combination of a lighting and sculpture, paper mache, a little bit of wax, a little bit of everything. And this was a woman who is probably undocumented, working to make her living by trimming cabbage. And that is just a sample of some of the work I've been doing. And this is, you know, what I do to contribute. I think it's really important for us to not forget about these people, to not ignore them. And I think it's society's, what people are comfortable with, and looking at people who are down on their luck, who are searching to find place, are not the people that we want to take notice of, the Marilyn Monroes. And when we go to our art fairs and we see all these celebrities and important people, those are the people who are getting the spotlight, as opposed to the people who actually deserve it. We need to take notice of these people. We need to help them. We need to support them.
Lori, your artwork is amazing.
Thank you.
What comes to mind is this idea of representing the underrepresented, right? This goes back to Van Gogh when he painted the famous painting of the potato eaters. And he was showing really the humble, the poor. And it was very radical at the time, because most people were painting, you know, this was post-impressionism, but most people were painting, you know, beautiful paintings of seascapes and landscapes and things like that. And he wanted to turn attention to people who were, you know, really low income, humble people. So I think you're following in that trajectory, and your skill level is amazing. If you see the sculptures in real life, it's just unreal, the skill that Lori brings to this. So thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. I appreciate it. I mean, the work that I had done, this is all done pre-COVID. And when COVID hit, I didn't have my models anymore. So I went out into nature and I found these small tree roots called cedar knees. And these became my people. And when I looked at them, they looked like the Exodus, or it looks like the asylum seekers, people who are searching for place for home. And these are also now currently, along with the unseen in society, like the previous work.
Hey, Lori,
This
I'm
is where,
sorry. Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm not sure that the image we're seeing relates to.
it doesn't, I got to get rid of this.
Yeah.
So let me stop the share.
Mhm.
Okay, well, anyhow, I'm in my studio right now, but a lot of the work I'm doing now deals with what's going on in all parts of the world where people are homeless, seeking shelter, seeking asylum, and needing help.
Tell us, what is your website again, Lori?
My website is lorihorowitz.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Lori Horowitz, amazing sculptor, for bringing a different perspective to this talk, really. And representation is key to understanding, right? So it's just as important as all of the other work that we saw, just in a completely different way. So we're going to go a little more practical now, so to speak. And we're very fortunate to have two individuals from OLA on the East End. Tom, oh, this is a hard one. Oles Cruz.
No, it's Oleschuk, as if the Z's are H's.
Oleschuk from
Bingo, got it, first shot.
okay, New York Project Hope. And we connected, and Tom will tell us about how an individual can access these resources. Because of course, if you're so stressed and troubled, or you're having all these problems, it can be mind-boggling, like how you can get help, and a person might be completely unaware of it. So Tom will speak a little bit, and then we'll have Faith Evan from also from Ola, the youth counselor. So Tom, let me find you.
Okay, I'm here.
There you go. Oh, nice to meet you on Zoom.
Okay, very good. And I'd like to say, thank you very much for having this Zoom, and it's it's an honor being on the Zoom with people who've made such a direct contribution to the problems of the homeless and the hungry and the neglected. Now, what I'd like to say, I'm a crisis counselor for New York Project Hope. This is a federally funded program through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, that 2 years ago was intended to be community outreach to combat the emotional problems facing the country regarding COVID. And so, its mission was tied to COVID and trying to help people deal with it emotionally. It's a community outreach, sympathetic ear, emotional support. And that evolved very, very rapidly because people have emotional needs that come out of things that aren't directly related to COVID at all, such as housing needs, food insecurity, such as child care issues and the like. Well, New York Project Hope, administered by the state, which in turn shows what are called providers. And the major provider for the East End is OLA, the Organization of Latin Americans of Eastern Long Island. And OLA, as part of the grant, promised that its operations would be bilingual. So we have reached out to the Hispanic community, as well as the non-Hispanic community in a number of ways. One of which is having a helpline. This is a helpline which is free, anonymous, and confidential, where people can call if they need somebody to talk to. That was the initial idea. But then it evolved very, very fast to, if they had a problem that they didn't know where to turn, that we would ask them if they'd like some help solving it. And we wouldn't do it for them, but we would provide information. So in a sense, Project Hope is, in addition to emotional support, it's an information clearinghouse. And we developed an immense database, something like 620 organizations on the East End, and then a little bit further west, that are essentially social organizations that provide services. If a person called and said, "Boy, I'm really have, I don't know where to turn, and I lost my job, and my kids are crying because I don't have any food in the refrigerator," we would listen to them and help them prioritize what's their immediate need. Well, in this particular case, the immediate need would be feed the kids. So we would go to our database, which has 20 different categories: clothing, libraries, domestic violence, employment, healthcare, housing resources, mental health resources, transportation, legal services, substance abuse, all kinds of things. And in each category, there are 20 or more social organizations organized by geographic location. So that, and I took a look in terms of the food category. We actually have 40 different food banks and organizations that provide food. So in talking to the person, we would say, well, in your area, there are these 3 possibilities for you. And we would give them their phone numbers. That the notion being that we recognize that people have integrity, and they that they have inner resources as well. They can do it, and you build their confidence if they get on the phone and call, rather than you do it for them. That promotes a dependency. In any case, the operation has been nationwide, and then over the last 3 months or so, it's been more restricted to California and New York for budgetary reasons. And we have we've dealt with numerous people who've called our number. We of course spent some time disseminating the number, including a year and a half ago on that big memorial sign of the Shinnecock on the highway, the electronic sign. We actually displayed information about Project Hope and the phone number.
What is the, you know, you know, the
the phone number. Yes, it's 631-500-0837. Now, we've had people call in. Lots of people have called in, with problems having to do with housing and food insecurity and substance abuse and the like. We've also had seminars, presentations that we've co-sponsored with various organizations on several issues, and a series of workshops. I mean, I personally have run some workshops over the last year, some with FACE assistance on dealing with stress for senior citizens, which, it is kind of an area that, it surprised me at how popular these workshops were, where we presented a safe space for them to talk about what was bothering them, and then try to elicit or plant the seeds of tips on how to deal with stress. So now this has been basically a 2-year operation minus about a month. And unfortunately, it will, in December be coming to an end. But there is a daughter project coming out of this that is much, much smaller because it's dependent on private funds. The daughter project is called Youth Connect, that Faith now is part of, having been a crisis counselor with me as part of Project Hope. But it's essentially the same model. The notion that there's a phone number, the kids. I'll let her talk about that. But fundamentally, the important thing is that the database that we compiled over the 2 years is something that we don't have to give back as to FEMA, because it's our database. So OLA and Youth Connect have all that information. Now, a little footnote to this: OLA itself sometimes provides material assistance to people in need, including sometimes driving people to medical appointments and the like. Transportation, by the way, is another item in the database. And so I'd like to give you also the general number for OLA. It's 631-899-3441.
Tom, thank you so much. We're going to move on so Faith has a chance to
Absolutely.
know a little bit. I really appreciate your time.
Oh,
all the amazing, really the work that you're doing and bringing light to all those resources that are available to people is remarkable. And the database that talk about creativity.
Yes, indeed.
Really
So,
else.
okay.
So,
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for organizing all of this.
We've spoken on the phone, but nice to see you on Zoom. Round of applause for Tom. And next up is Faith Evans. She is a youth counselor for
Youth Connect.
Yes, Youth Connect, which is also part of OLA. And let me just find you. There you go.
Over here in the little corner.
Faith is also an artist.
Yes, I
and
am.
she's serving the community. So tell us about what is Youth Connect and what is this? Tell us a little bit about this.
Sure. Youth Connect, in a nutshell, is a helpline where teens can call, text, or email us. And it's anonymous, it's confidential, and it's free. I did start off with Project Hope with Tom for the last 2 years. So I was a trained crisis counselor. Within the Project Hope bubble, I created my own niche strictly for teens and did these art workshops where I would teach them how to relax using art. And while I was with Project Hope, Minerva Perez, who runs OLA, she was behind the scenes for 6 years, working with teens to create an initiative so that they could have an emotional support helpline, which we just launched in September. So I got the call from Minerva in September, hey, can you bring your workshops and all your training over to Youth Connect and work with us? And it was like the perfect marriage for me. I'm like, of course. So Youth Connect is a concentrated effort focused on teens and preteens. So middle school age children and high school age children. And you're probably thinking, how does this fit into everything? Well, a lot of kids who do show up with food insecurity, housing insecurities, clothing, they bring all that stress to school. It affects their schoolwork, it affects their social circles, it affects all aspects of their life. And sometimes they feel they don't have anyone to talk to. They don't want to go to someone in school, but we don't want to take away from what the schools offer because they're doing an amazing job. We like to let people in the community know that we are supplemental and we're preventative. We know there's a shortage of clinical help for teens. We aren't clinical, but we are that listening ear. We've gone into some high schools already. We literally just launched in September. So we're just trying to get the word out to everyone in the community about who we are, our phone number. I grew up, I was born and raised in East Hampton, born in Southampton Hospital. So I know it was like growing up out here, but I also have seen a lot of changes. And just hearing the stories tonight, I was thinking about myself as a child out here. Like, I remember this man when I was a little girl, he was a fisherman, and my parents were raising 5 children, working hard in the school district. And you know, I could see the struggle at times, but this fisherman would drop a bucket of fish in our driveway every weekend. And I didn't understand what was happening. And when I got older, I asked my dad, who was that guy that always brought fresh fish? And he's like, oh, he died. He was so-and-so. He just saw the kid us playing in the front yard one day and asked if we would like free fish every weekend. And who would say no to that? And those are some amazing memories. And I know there's families out here who are in this, you know, difficult situations. But in mine, I'm thinking my dad didn't share with us what was going on. And I know today there's so much more awareness of kids that got their phones that they have access to the whole world on their little phones. So they're more aware of what's going on. And that creates a whole lot more stress that they really don't need to deal with. But, you know, it's like a chain to their wrist, this phone. So they see so much more information than we saw growing up in the 70s or 80s or whatever era we're from, but it's just a different time altogether. So we're here to support them in all of that, the anxiety they feel, the things they know that is a lot at their age to know. We want teens and preteens to know that they can talk to us. We hear them. If their friend group or teachers or family, no one's around that they can talk to, we're the ones they can call or text. And we don't ask names. We tell them who we are. So we have crisis counselors, we have an executive director, and we have a small team right now because we're new. But all of us are behind the phones, and we're all trained and ready. And we have gotten some calls so far, but we want people to know, yes, we are still out here. And I'm still doing my workshops. I let the kids know I'm there if you need a place to just escape and relax, quiet. Come to the library with me this day of the month, and we'll you know, do our thing together. And we will be creating more workshops down the road. What their needs are, we want to meet them, and we'll create a workshop based on those needs. We want the kids to know that we're here for them. They're going to be running this, and we're just, you know, we're going to be with them, supporting them, but they have a voice with us, they have an opinion with us, everything. And we want to help. We want to be side by side with them driving. We even have teams that will be working with us as advisors to keep all of us in check with, you know, being relatable and things like that, because we're a little bit older, but we all have the heart to be here. We have the heart to support them. I have 2 teenagers myself, when I just sent off to college across the country. So I do have a window of the teen world. One's still at East Hampton High School. So I know it's hard. And we hear them, and I can put the phone number in the chat, but if I know you guys work with probably more adults and families as a whole.
No, can you, excuse me, Faith, can you say the phone number also, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's 631-810-9010. And we've been getting RAT cards out to all of the food pantries and churches, schools, libraries, different events. I know there's one Friday we're dropping off, but it's 631-810-9010. It's probably the best way to remember it.
Faith, thank you so much
Sure.
for coming on, and I'm sure, you know, with your evening, also
It's
you have
fine.
other things too. So I love that you're working with teens, and especially during COVID, it must have been so hard with teens being isolated and sometimes overwhelmed by problems that face any family. But this is so great that there's a place that teens can, you know, anonymously reach out, because that's really hard if you have to kind of face an issue and you might feel like I'll get in trouble or I'll be embarrassed or feel ashamed or all those sorts of things. So thank you so much for the great work that you're doing in the community. Faith is also an artist. What is your website, Faith?
I actually have an Instagram page. So
Okay,
it's Faith Joan of Art. I'm easy to find. Yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
So, I think what I would recommend is this movie, which is called A Place at the Table, this documentary, which really goes into how did we get ourselves into this? You know, why are so many people in need? Why all of a sudden is there such a need for food pantries? It's extremely informative. And basically what I gleaned from this movie is that it really is to a large degree up to the private sector right now to fill in this gap of, you know, this economic gap. So everyone here is doing an amazing job. And I know not all the organizations are private. We didn't mention at this talk the retreat, which is a shelter for women who are facing domestic violence. That's also a really good organization. And there's many other organizations, of course. This is not comprehensive in any way. So thank you, Geraldine Lewandowski. Thank you, Dan O'Shea, John Kolenko, Kate Muth, Lori Horowitz, Tom Oleski.
Close.
Kevin, don't take it personally. It's me. It's my brain.
That's fine.
Thank you, everybody. Have
Joyce, thank you.
Okay.
Really appreciate your efforts and your time and your creativity for goodwill. So
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Goodbye.